The 2026 NHL Draft is only 2 days away, so I want to give you guys my final updated 2026 NHL Draft prospects rankings. Where I tell you who I think's the best. This is a great loaded draft class. I think is really good at the top here. So I'm giving you my top 20, of the rankings of these prospect rankings here, going from 120, giving you a little explanation of why I think they are placed the way they are. We're right here. We're at the finish line here, and I just want to give you that right before the end here, just my last updated prospect rankings. So before I get into it, I do want to say if you end up enjoying today's video, please consider subscribing to the channel as I try to reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers. If you'd help support me in that way by subscribing, and you like the content enough to subscribe and stick around, that would mean so much to me. But let's get into it here. So, this is, again, like I said, I think it's a very, at the top, a very loaded draft class. Some of these teams are going to get some really, really good players that I think are going to be in the NHL for a long time. And at number one, we start, I think, a little controversial because at number one, I don't have the guy that most people do, which is Gavin McKenna. I have instead Ivar Stenberg. I think Ivar Stenberg is truly the very best player in this draft class, in the 2026 draft class. It's close. It's very close. A lot of these rankings are very close. I'll try to remind people of that as I go, that some of these selections were razor thin. But I just love the complete game of Stenberg more. I think it's near flawless. I think he's just as complete as a winger as you can get. The records that he's breaking and the point totals he's putting up, and the comparisons to like Sedin twins in terms of the stats that he's breaking and all that kind of stuff in the Swedish league are undeniable. So if we're getting a player like that, if the NHL is getting, and the league is getting a player like that, to me, that is the very best prospect in this year's draft class. And number two, though, is Gavin McKenna. Make no mistake, Gavin McKenna is going to be special. The one thing I see with him is just that sometimes he can be a little lackadaisical away from the puck, whereas I don't see that flaw in Ivar Stenberg's game. But Gavin McKenna, I will say, does have, I think, a higher ceiling. He has the potential to be like a game breaker, truly elite. There's a reason that people are comparing him to Nikita Kucherov potentially and Patrick Kane, two people who will absolutely, no doubt, be going to the Hall of Fame. So his potential for offense is sky high. But again, I just like that complete game of Stenberg more. But make no mistake, whoever's getting Gavin McKenna, very likely the Toronto Maple Leafs, will be getting someone who is probably going to be with them their whole careers. Moving on to number three. Number three is maybe a little controversial, but this is my favorite defenseman in the entire draft class. It's Carson Karels. For me, he's the complete package. He projects as a number one defenseman for me. I have no doubt that he will be a top pairing defenseman. And I think that what he brings is something of just when you talk about an all-around number one defenseman, that is Karels. He has the offense, which I think is somewhat underrated by a lot of scouts and people talking about Karels. They talk about Chase Reed's offense a lot, and for good reason. And maybe I think Karels is also just a little bit more of like a sure thing compared to some of these other defensemen who are a little bit maybe more, project isn't the best word to use, but like more of just things have to go more right, I think, in their development. Whereas Karels, I think, is someone who, yes, he's still got more developing to do, but I just love the traits he brings. Just like great skating, such physicality, strong body. He's got the offense and the defense. He's so smart on the defensive side of the game. So, when it comes to defensemen, that's kind of almost necessary, right? So for me, I think Carson Karels is the best all-around defenseman, and I got him number three in this draft class. And number four, I've got Caleb Malhotra, who I think is still the best center in my eyes for this draft class. Again, I think I don't always sway this way. I don't always think this way. But when it comes to this draft class in specific, I think when it's razor thin, when the margins are razor thin of like who's better than who ranks higher than another player, I think it might come down to, for me, just like the all-around game. And I think Malhotra's all-around game is just so amazing. I liken him to, I don't want to spoil the whole thing, but on Friday I have a NHL comparables video coming out where I kind of compare all these big-time prospects in this draft class to players right now in the NHL. And I'll give you one for free from Malhotra. It's Nick Suzuki. Someone who I think has this great offensive potential, someone who, maybe just under a point per game kind of offense, which is still really good, but defense that also could be just like pure shutdown. You don't want to face this line. He is the center, kind of like a much more offensive Jordan Staal, if you want to say that. Someone who could shut you down and score points against you. So Malhotra, I really like there, and I think he's the fourth best prospect in this draft class. Number 5 is the second best prospect, second best center in my eyes, Viggo Bjork. I think he has to go. He's still top 5 though, in my opinion, in terms of rankings. I saw people for a while saying that Viggo Bjork, they agreed with me, right? Maybe he's the third best player in this entire draft class, and then now I'm seeing some scouts again kind of go in the lower side. Like maybe he's low in the top 10, still a top 10 player, but maybe lower in the top 10 of this class. No, for me, he's like in the top 5, because again, really the only knock against him is his height, and I'm kind of done with it. Like, I understand maybe for the defense, like if you got a smaller defenseman, I can see that where the concerns come in. But for forwards, I think we've seen enough. I think we've seen that 5'9" forwards and above, and taller, can absolutely produce at the NHL level and not run too many problems. Bjork is such a great player. He's an amazing passer. He's an amazing shooter. He creates offense out of nothing. He's great with others. He's a playmaker as well. So Viggo Bjork kind of has it all. And I'm sick of just rating him, thinking he's ranked lower just because of his height. Whoever ends up with Viggo Bjork, maybe it's the Kraken, maybe it's the Flames, maybe it's the Jets. Who knows? But whoever ends up Bjork, I think, gets, at the very worst, a second-line center, a great second-line center. Number 6, I've got someone who I hate to put him this low because I truly think he is going to be a number 1 defenseman, Chase Reed. Chase Reed, the margins are so close when it comes to the other defenseman, which Carroll's at number 3. Even though there's a gap from 3 to 6, I think that they're both going to be number 1 defenseman in the league. Reed is just a little bit more of like, maybe a little bit less of a sure thing, I think. I still think, I personally believe he'll be a number 1 defenseman. He'll run the power play on whatever team he's drafted to. Say the Sharks, Chicago Blackhawks, whatever. He'll end up being the guy. He truly has shades of like Zach Werenski, right? But he's still got some developing to do. He's still got some play to do in the college ranks and maybe the AHL for a year or so. But I still think though that Chase Reed will be the number 1 defenseman on whatever team he ends up being drafted to. And I think he's the very best right-hand shot defenseman in this draft class. Number 7, another defenseman, Albert Smits. I'm just going to say Albert Smits. I know that's probably not the way you pronounce it. I think it's Schmidt or something, but I've seen other broadcasters say it's Smits, so I'm just going to go with it for now. But yeah, Albert Smits, someone who, again, I'd love to have higher. It's just that the offensive capabilities of some of those other defensemen, like Carroll's and Reed, are just a little bit higher. But man, is Smits such a great all-around defenseman. He's played against men. I mean, that's the biggest thing for him, right? He's proven that he can do it. Not many prospects get to just have that on their kind of on their resume or at this stage where they've played against older competition. He's played at the Olympics. Now, obviously, he's still got some more developing to do, but like this guy, he's really sure in himself, and I think that he's so cerebral. He's so smart. His hockey IQ is really high, and for a defenseman, that's what you want. So he's going to be, I think, a top 2 defenseman for a team. Maybe not the number 1 true ceiling, but I think number 2 for me. Number 8, I've got another defenseman, Keaton Verhoff. Keaton Verhoff is just also a shade below Smits, just because I think he's just a little bit more risk, just a little bit more inherent risk with Verhoff because his flaws are a little bit more apparent. It's not always the most consistent game with Verhoff, but it's so funny with prospects because their ceilings can be higher, but they also can be a little bit riskier. So with Verhoff, I think he's a little bit riskier, just a little bit riskier than the rest of those defensemen I've already said, but also the ceiling is quite high. I think the ceilings, I would probably say that Reed and Verhoff have the highest ceilings of these defensemen. So, if it really hits, yeah, he's a number 1 defenseman. I think it could range anywhere from like number 1 to maybe number 3 defenseman for a team that ends up drafting Verhoff. So right shot, that's hard to come by. He's got, he doesn't have the skating, but he's got that great shot that that a lot of teams try and look for in a potential franchise defenseman. Moving on to number 9, I've got Wyatt Cullen. I'm a big believer in Wyatt Cullen. I believe the hype. He's shooting up rankings. He's been shooting up for a while now, and I believe the hype. Seeing Wyatt Cullen, I think he's going to be a top 6 player, a top 6 forward for a team. Plays left wing. I think he's just going to be great. I could absolutely see him one day, putting up anywhere from, I don't know. I could see him honestly putting up like 80 points. I'm a big believer in Cullen's game. And I think that, he's just going to be a great top 6 player for whatever team ends up drafting him. Number 10, I've got Daxton Rudolph. This is where I've got Rudolph going. Well, not going, but like that's where I have him ranked. Again, I see him as a tier below those other 4 defensemen, Verhoff, Smits, Reed, Carrolls. But again, it comes down to, I think, risk. Rudolph, if he hits, man, he's going to be good. And I think he does hit. I wouldn't put him top 10 if I didn't think he was going to hit. But yeah, just a little bit more risk there. But Rudolph's great. I don't think he has quite the potential as those other 4 defensemen I was saying. But again, Rudolph, he's got a great offensive game. If he can develop more of that defensive side of the puck there, he's going to be really, really good. Number 11, he's really become one of my favorite prospects in this entire class. Another defenseman, Malte Gustafsson, left shot defenseman. It's crazy how much he's risen for me ever since I started these kind of rankings, these prospects, maybe the mock drafts on the channel. Gustafsson was really low, but or in terms of like the first round, but now he's 11th for me. He's really climbing. I just love the tools he's got and the kind of profile that he has as a defenseman. I think it's a really nice skill set that he possesses. So for me, Gustafsson comes in at number 11. Number 12, this guy has stayed consistently at this spot pretty much the whole time. I've kind of viewed him and viewed all these prospects. It's Adam Novotny. I think you're getting, if you end up drafting Adam Novotny, I think you're getting a top 6 left winger, like a top 6 forward left winger. You're getting someone who will be I think a top 6 player. I don't see him as a middle 6, which I've seen some scouts project him to be. I do think that top 6 kind of the NHL projection is definitely there. I see it a lot. So I think he's really good in the offensive side of the game. I think that he's got a good shot. I think he makes great he's a great playmaker. Makes good passes. I don't know which team ends up with him, but I think he will be someone who in short order also can be someone who ends up being a good up there in the top 6 for someone's forward group. Number 13, the best power forward in this draft class, Ethan Belchetz. His subpar skating and maybe sometimes inconsistency in his game brings him down just a notch. I know some people have him actually pretty high just because they love his power, the power forward element of his game. But for me, it just brings him a little bit lower. But still, this guy, if he really hits, oh my gosh, he could be awesome. He could be the guy. He could become a very, very household name in short order. We'll see. I mean, now that the trade has happened between the Florida Panthers and the Ottawa Senators, the crazy Tkachuk trade, maybe if the Senators end up keeping the pick, this could also age very badly. Maybe they trade the pick by the time I'm making this video. But I think that Ethan Belchetz could be maybe a good fit for the Senators, who are now lacking a top 6 or like a power forward on their team, a true top 6 power forward. Belchetz will be awesome for whatever team ends up grabbing him. Again, a true power forward, plays a lot of physicality, drives hard to the net. He's going to be great. Number 14, trying to get through the top 20 here. At number 14, I've got Ryan Lynn. I know he's small for defenseman. I know that's something that a lot of teams look at, so he might fall a little bit on draft day, but there is no denying how intelligent he is at the game of hockey. Right shot defenseman, Ryan Lynn is just one of the smartest, if not the smartest. I think maybe he's the smartest defenseman in this draft class. The way he sees the game is really something special. Again, that size kind of brings him down. It's the reason he's a little lower, but if, let's say you add 3 inches to his height, he was 6 foot, this guy's going top 5. That's how much I like the Ryan Lynn's game. I know a lot of people are projecting him maybe going to the Islanders. We'll see what happens there because they're in need of right shot defensemen. But yeah, I think that Ryan Lynn, really like his game, really like the way he plays defense. Number 15 is someone who is rising. I also believe the hype, not as much as I believe like Wyatt Collins' hype or Malte Gustafson's hype, but this guy, Alexander Command, I do believe in it as well. Someone who I think will stick as center. I don't see him transition to the wing. I like his game as a center, and I see it sticking at the NHL level. This guy, yeah, no, he's got the goods, and I like how he projects as like a good NHL center who's got a lot of good tools. Needs more developing for sure. But he comes in at number 15 for me on my rankings. Number 16, Tynan Lawrence, another center, has dropped for me a bit. You know, him getting injured didn't help his case, and I think that there's a lot of inconsistencies in his game. But I think with the right team, he really could flourish, and he could be a second-line center for the right team. Comes at number 16. Number 17, Mathis Preston. This guy was like really hyped right like kind of the beginning of the NHL season, like, you know, before the beginning of 2026, like more the end of 2025 is when everyone starts like talking about Preston as like this guy's gonna go high. And now it's like, well, maybe he makes the first round, like maybe he's in the back half of, you know, last 10 picks or something of the first round. But in my opinion, he should be a little bit higher than that because Mathis Preston has some amazing skills. Like, he is so skillful. The way he sees the game is really, really high. You know, he's got other people, not just his teammates, but like other people in the leagues that he plays in, talking very highly about him. I love the skills that he brings, and to me, that can offer such a great ceiling. So to me, Mathis Preston comes in at number 17. Number 18, a guy who I believe in more than maybe most, I'd say, Liam Ruck. I know that most people have him going in the first round, but it's more of like closer to the end of the first round. 18, I can't just kind of hope he goes somewhere in the middle because I think that's where he should go. Yeah, I really like Ruck, and we'll see who ends up taking him because I think that whoever ends up taking him will try and get a package together to try and get the Twins together. Will it be the Vancouver Canucks? Because now they got the Sedin twins running the show, or at least advising the show. So that'll be very interesting to see. But I think whoever gets Liam Ruck, even if you don't get the package, Liam Ruck is a great player in his own right. Great forward, great right wing. Last two picks here at number 19. One of the most interesting prospects, I think, in this whole draft class, because I think the sky may be the limit for him. Oscar Hemming. Someone who I could see busting. I could see someone who just doesn't fully turn out. But if it turns out, the team that takes a chance on Oscar Hemming, I think, you know, especially if they're good at developing, I think it can be really, really great because he's got the frame, right? He's a big guy, and he's got the talent as well. If you can put all the tools together and really develop here, Oscar Hemming's going to look back maybe as one of the very best players in the entire draft class. Last pick here in terms of my my top 20 prospects for the 2026 NHL Draft. 2 days removed from the draft. I can't wait. At number 20, I've got Xavier Villeneuve. Someone who I don't know. I've kind of gone back and forth at times with this player, but I still think he's going to be a top 4 defenseman for a team, and I like his upside as a left shot defenseman. Xavier Villeneuve, if he can figure out the defensive side of the game, I think he could really take some massive steps and maybe even end up, if everything goes right, maybe being like a number 2 defenseman for a team. Don't think so. Probably more of a 3. But yeah, I like Villeneuve's game for sure. But that is it. That is the end of the video. That is all 20 picks in terms of my top 20 prospects for the 2026 NHL Draft. We're almost there. We're pretty much there. We're at the finish line. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with my rankings? What are some of the ones you don't agree with? Be polite, but let me know in the comments below. Yeah, I look forward to hearing what you guys say. And if you like today's video, please consider subscribing to the channel to try to reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers. Would mean so much to me if you like the content enough to stick around. Cannot wait for the draft. I've got one more video coming out on Friday talking about comparing these prospects to NHL players. Stay tuned for that one. I'll see you guys in that next video.